Bump. Flick roll. Flick roll. Half reverse Cuban. Barrel roll. Half loop. Flick roll. Chandelle. Quarter clover. Quarter clover. Flick roll. Slow roll. Stall turn. Half Cuban. Loop. Andy Priest in the Tutor, and that is a presentation of basic aerobatic. Now remember, two things to watch here. Interesting, isn't it, that he's actually back to the height that he started at. Very impressive. This you would not have done, of course, in the old days with the Chipmunk or the Bulldog. And remember, this is what ab initio pilots in the Royal Air Force are doing right from the beginning. He finishes there with an 8-point hesitation roll. Very impressive.
If you look in front of you, time to have a wave as Andy comes past. There's a very clear canopy there. He can see you. Please show your appreciation. I think you'll agree with me, that's a fine start to the air show. Andy very much enjoys his work. As Brendan said, this is actually his second year as the tutor display. Here he comes on the right hand side, Royal Air Force Tucano. And straight away, Stu shows you this wonderful colour scheme on the Tucano. As I'm sure you're aware, it's the Royal Air Force 90th anniversary this year, so we have tried to create some interesting colour schemes. Certainly the underside of this aircraft proudly wearing the Royal Air Force roundel. And there's Stu showing you that beautiful colour scheme. The first stall turn, We saw Andy Priest perform some stall turns during the tutor display. Well, Stu likes that manoeuvre as well. Of course, Stu is lucky, he has much more power. This aircraft was procured to replace the jet propels. For many years, the Air Force trained its pilots on jet aircraft. Tucano has been in service with the Royal Air Force since 1988 and is certainly a very fun aircraft to fly. Now this is a result of a study that was carried out by the Royal Air Force back in the early 1990s. A number of colour schemes were tested against a range of backgrounds to decide which was the most visible in the range of cloud backgrounds we have in the UK. Amazingly enough, black was the winner. It has been scientifically proven that the eye can pick up black aircraft against a range of backgrounds far easier than any other colour. Now that's not so good for operations, but is exactly what you need in a training aircraft and also for display aircraft. Well, Stu only joined the Air Force back in 2003. In this way, the difference in age and experience between the instructor and the instructed is very, very small, and that certainly tends to help. The new pilots are certainly those that are perhaps struggling to make the grade. It helps them along to know that their instructor knows exactly what they're going through because they went through it just a few months, perhaps just a few years ago. On completion of this tour, Stu hopes to finish off his flying training and hopes to fly the Harrier. Yet again another classic stall turn, flown beautifully by Andy Priest in the Tutor a little bit earlier, but also flown as well Stu Campbell here. And you'll notice that during that manoeuvre he actually lowered his undercarriage. You don't just do a normal, oh let's break downwind and chuck around to land, just look how tight Stu is actually flying this approach. And just about a perfect landing to end his display. Ladies and gentlemen, please put your hands together. Flight Lieutenant Stu Campbell in the Tutor, and give him a wave as he comes past you. Stu, very new to display flying. Spoke to him a little bit earlier. He's delighted with the job because it gets him to great places, like here at Biggin Hill.
Sky as Michael Carlson at the controls, and we're taking you back in time to about 1911, 1912. This aircraft, ladies and gentlemen, was designed by Louis Bleriot in 1909. Actually first flown in 09, not this particular one, but this type aircraft. And you're seeing an airplane that's being flown powered by a 50 horsepower rotary motor. That means that the entire motor is turning around and the crankshaft remains stationary. This is truly extraordinary flying of the earliest kind you'll ever see. And this man is the master. He's actually, Ian, you told me he's been down under a couple of times with this aircraft.
Twice we've had him in Wanaka, at Woolwich over Wanaka. He owns a Tamalisa as well, and he brought that out.
Wave to him, folks, because he's flying that aircraft. He's breaking through 30 miles an hour right now.
Downwind.
Yeah.
shots. That is absolutely extraordinary. I mean, if you've ever seen a transitory form of levitation, that is it.
Now, there is really slow flight.
I mean, just getting it off the ground is remarkable. And remember, this was the first aircraft to loop the loop.
Absolutely.
Unbelievable.
One thing about, he's at max altitude right now, and the reason why is because that aircraft generates so much drag that if the engine quit for any reason, but he would drop straight out of the sky. They would then, and they will today, because it's the same airplane. But, you know, he's just, this chap is a master at it. In the Tomalisa, he won Best Aerobatic Performer one year here at Biggin Hill, and he was up against some very, very fierce competition, including some of the best aerobatic flyers in the world. But what he did with Tomalisa was amazing. This man is an airline pilot. He is one of the best or greatest collectors of rotary motors on the planet, and there he is diving the aircraft down again. This is about as aerobatic as you'll see a Bleriot be, unless you've got the altitude and the perfect weather conditions to be able to actually loop that loop that you were talking about. This is the type aircraft that flew the Channel first. The airplane that actually flew the Channel had a smaller engine, 25 horsepower. And, you know, Ian, there's an interesting story about that, and that is that the only thing that really got him across the Channel was a rain squall that he ran into, because his engine was overheating badly and the rain cooled it down. But he made it all the way across the Channel from England to France, and that was...
it gives you an understanding of what was involved in flying these extraordinary machines. As I say, today, if I had the opportunity to fly this airplane just to get it on and off the ground, there he is waving, give him a big wave, ladies and gentlemen, just to get it on and off the ground, I would be impressed with myself.
This is truly a treat for all of us to see. Absolute treat. Because it's such a rare aircraft and being flown by such a master that it's, you know, difficult to appreciate what you're seeing here when you see all these very fast, sleek airplanes come racing across the runway. But there's, look at that turn into the wind. He's nearly stationary. Now he's banking back around to the left. Again, remember, he does all of his banking by pushing on a bar with his feet. And of course, he can control the rudder and the elevator with his control stick. But there he is at max altitude again.
Well, you say that, Ron, you say that, but in fact, the Bleriot was the first aircraft to fly over the Alps.
Oh yes, but the thing is, you only want to be close to the ground because, as I said, if the engine stops, you're not going to glide to a landing, you're going to plunk out of the sky. So it's not a question of
sent a Bleriot two-seater out to New Zealand with the fighter pilot, our first fighter pilot.
Look at that, folks. Very, very carefully. Whoa, 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 whoa. Touching down in the steep grass, the thick grass, because it just helps you brake that much better. And he stopped, and what would you guesstimate there? About how many?
4'6", you're
about
right.
4'6".
And of course, we have to realise that aircraft were built, or are built, to take off into wind. Aerodromes 60, 70 years ago were just a large piece of glass.
Give him a big round of applause, folks. There's one chap that can actually hear you when you give him your recognition for a wonderful job. Very, very well done. Didn't mean to cut into you.
Traffic control to give us clearance for the Mirage to take off. Well, we have all sorts of things on our program here. We have the old and the new and the fast and the slow. Well, we've had the slow, and now we are going to have the seriously fast. So. And now, ladies and gentlemen, we've had the Bleriot, and here we have the Mirage 2000, as it's known in its home country. And there, look at that.
One or two car alarms going off there as well.
It has been, yes, what a delight. It's been around for 30 years, but what, as you can see, a spectacular aircraft. I love that Delta wing, and what a performance. Beautiful to look at. Across the sound barrier.
Never. One of my wishes was to fly the Concorde.
Inverted inverted. Well, if you can do it the right way up, you can do it upside down as well. It is extraordinary. And we compare this, going back more than 30 years, the performance of this aircraft when you compare it to modern-day fighters. Flown by Captain Rayet, François Rayet. He also happens to the captain. He's extraordinary agility, isn't he? Amazing.
When you really consider there is only 50 years between the Bleriot.
Mind you, it is fly-by-wire. Awesome, a little bit of bump there as you went up. Computers. Yep, computer basically. Yep. And again, the whole idea behind that is hesitation. Look at that performance. Look at it. Of course, there is a little bit of a height restriction today because of the proximity of controlled airspace, so he's going to have to work really, really hard to pull an awful lot of G to bust that upper limit. Well, there's an interesting little point now about the squadron here that's flying. It's the Escadron 215, the Ile de France, and in fact it formed in Scotland. It's not only that, almost looks coming around the corner sometimes as a mini Vulcan, which sadly of course was not with us this weekend. Here's a slow run, ladies and gentlemen, with the dirty run, but going into a fast run, so a little bit of a photo opportunity there. You can see the Vive la France! From the right, ladies and gentlemen, the Mirage 2000. Bust the sound barrier there, but the glass hasn't broken in the country. So look at this now, ladies and gentlemen. He's slowed up. Extraordinary sort of maneuverability, but here goes fly-by-wire. Absolutely amazing. Right on the back of the proverbial drag curve.
Fly-by-wire, he really is.
What can we do without him? Jeez.
Well, one hopes he is wearing it.
Yeah, I certainly hope so.
I wonder, is it one of the newly bells? There's a good ball, and look at that. Great roll. Awesome. It's just like a dart, isn't it? He does those twinkle rolls. Oh, you can see the light flicking on those on the wing. It's extraordinary. I am impressed by this. This is an incredible thing.
Slow, fast, off the right.
And as you said, Ian, but 50 years to separate the two. Extraordinary. Truly, a transmogrification of reality. A trans what? Don't worry. Captain François Rayet, 215 Squadron Ile de France. Oh, look at that tail down, yes. A little kiss on the runway, absolutely perfect landing. Truly, truly awesome. A big, big round of applause, ladies and gentlemen. When he comes back down the runway, big, big wave, catch coat, anything you've got to throw, because believe me, pilots, they can see you and your participation. Your enthusiastic participation is always most gratefully received.
Back down to 0 miles per hour. Turning around on the runway. Now as he taxis back to right side, give him a big wave. Warm you up. Right into the runway and saying thank you very much.
Eyes front, everybody. Welcome from the Blue Eagles, and firstly we're going to start off with something completely different, and you'll see the Lynx from the Army Air Corps Blue Eagles start off with a stunning solo display, and we'll be conducting manoeuvres that frankly only aeroplanes should be able to do. The Blue Eagles this year is celebrating our 40th year of display flying, the longest running helicopter display team in the world, and you can see the Lynx coming in to welcome itself to the crowd here and conduct its first fairly unique manoeuvre. This is a fantastic photo opportunity. The Lynx climbs and will pull over the tail in a backflip. Imagine standing on a 20-storey building, jumping off and somersaulting over. It's quite unique. Follow the Lynx to the Army Air Corps for full details on how to enter the competition. But we know we're looking to spend a day out with the Eagles later on in September. Now another loop-the-loop, very graceful, and such a wind really helps it to make it look like a lovely smooth sail.
Absolutely remarkable. Have you got to be very careful about not putting any negative G inputs in when flying these manoeuvres?
Absolutely. The aircraft aren't cleared for negative G manoeuvres. The rotor blades frankly don't like it. But both the Lynx today and other aircraft we have is about a +2 G. So we have to make sure the aircraft are flown very, very gracefully.
It's getting a bit techy, but pulling up there like that and doing this kind of beautiful forward curve, you actually have to load the rotors. You've got to pull up and deflect it.
Eddie says when he flies this, he's either got no power or maximum power. There's nothing in between. Clearly as he pulls out, he's dropping the lever to reduce the power, to produce the loading.
Look at this, absolutely, it's stopped.
Pedal turn right at the start as he comes into his final manoeuvre in the crowd centre. Again, final opportunity to take some photos and enter our competition. As he departs away from the crowd and does a backflip.
Oh, this is just not
completely unique.
Look at this, ladies and gentlemen. That's not acceptable. I mean, that is just out to lunch. That's extraordinary.
Completely unique, and only the Lynx helicopter can do such a manoeuvre.
Nothing else.
No other helicopter in the world can do it.
Now, what have we got? I'm looking out across the crowd line here. The Lynx is clearing away. Just a stunning. Look at this coming in for the first time in the United Kingdom, seen by the public, the Apache attack helicopter.
Absolutely, and today we're very, very pleased to be using the British Army attack helicopter.
Now, I haven't seen this before, Richard, but it looks as though it's as aerobatic as the Lynx.
Well, the Lynx has had special clearances, but this Apache is the as-flown operational configuration. We've done nothing to this aircraft at all. There are no special limitations, and it's flown by Major Chris Whip and Captain Tony Thompson, both who have been in Afghanistan recently. And the main aim of today is to show off a very graceful aircraft. Despite its size, it's over 10 tons in weight,
awesome.
60 feet in length, it's the size of a bus.
What's the disco ball on the top?
That's the dimension radar. It's one of our many sights and sending.
You can see you before you can see it.
I mean, it looks. I mean, it looks aggressive. They're trying to attack you there, Richard. I think you're.
Well, absolutely. This first bit is really showing off the limits of the aircraft.
Oh, look at that! Awesome, a sort of climbing, sliding turn.
Absolutely. It's just a fantastic aircraft to fly, and while some say it looks ugly, personally I think it does exactly what it says on the tin. Jeremy Clarkson is very much a friend of ours, and he can't get enough of this. I think it's brilliant. Such a wonderful aircraft.
It's the serious. I guess it's the serious hooligans too.
It's fortunate to get close enough. It's very, very well protected and armoured, and the crew are very well protected. And that's not necessarily for the crew's perspective, it's to enable the aircraft to carry.
Okay, and there it goes, ladies and gentlemen, and what an opportunity. Get your pickies out as well, because this is, as I say, the first time. We've got several firsts to tell you about during the course of the afternoon, but this is the first time that the Apache attack helicopter has been seen by the public in the United Kingdom.
Absolutely. Now Chris is bringing the aircraft close. We thought that the public would like to see this aircraft up close and slow, and something that frankly the fast jets can't do. Everybody wave. He's using his magnification there to look through. It's fairly
That's it, folks. Throw hats, coats, scarves, anything up in the air. Give him a wave. He can see you there.
You can see.
He's going to go. There's the gun going down. Look, so you better wave.
Absolutely. Now, as Captain Tony Thompson in the front seat, he's using his helmet-mounted sight attitude as the aircraft comes down. That's Chris manually altering the stabulator to the rear of the aircraft, which means that he can set the aircraft up into a very, very stable firing platform. As I said, the whole reason this aircraft is here is to destroy the enemy, and everything on this aircraft is designed to make sure the aircraft is as stable as possible to fire these weapons. Now Chris is going to pirouette along the crowd line, another fantastic photo opportunity to take pictures of the aircraft from all sorts of different perspectives. Make sure you come and see our ground display while you get an opportunity to meet both the Apache and the Lynx crew later today. And just a reminder, we're located in the military village to the crowd light as we're looking out of the air. This is the Army supporting the Army. This helicopter is flown by the best pilots in the world, and we make no apologies for that. It's flown by Army pilots and Army officers and Army non-commissioned officers.
Struth, what was that?
Well, I think he was using his gun there.
Wouldn't want to be looking where I am now, straight down his nose, out of the commentary box. If he was going to open the taps, that would not be good news at all. Thank you, Ron.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, a final wave to the Chris and Tony as they fly down back to land, and I'd like to take the opportunity on behalf of all the Blue Eagles to thank you for allowing us here at Biggin Hill today, and hopefully we'll see you again later on in the display season.
Stunning show, Richard. Thank you very much for being with us and for a great commentary, and yeah, fantastic to see the Lynx for me.
Spitfire and the North American P-51. So back in time we go once again.
One of the World War II fighter aircraft, the Spitfire, the Mustang, carried the war to Germany and survived, of course, after the war, continuing to fly right through until the arrival of the jet. But to me, the sound of a Merlin, and we can hear two Merlins here, these aircraft is the real sound of an aeroplane. Now, these aircraft both owned by the old Flying Machine Company, based at Duxford, and formed, of course, by Ray Hanna, a New Zealander, born and bred, who joined the RAF and became leader of the Red Arrows for many years. Sadly, Ray Hanna passed away just a couple of years ago from a heart attack, but his legend lives on when we see these aircraft fly.
Incredible. His son was not so fortunate. He was killed in a
109.
in a message
From your right.
From right to left, ladies and gentlemen, here they are with the battle of the invasion stripes on the bottom of the P-51 and the Spitfire in its standard regalia as they zoom across into the sky overhead. The P-51 came along when the Yanks got in, and it handled its share. Actually, it's a very interesting little story. I'd like to share with you the truck that the other day was on about its name. What do you call the P-51?
The Mustang.
The Mustang, that's right. And there are a lot of legends about how these aircraft got their names, but I'd like to share with you, if I may, the story of the Mustang. It was originally designed as an attack aircraft, ground attack aircraft for the RAF, and it was built in North America. And they said, well, what do you think of this? And it was sent over to, the airplane was sent over to Jimmy Doolittle with the 9th Air Force to do an assessment. Jimmy Doolittle's assistant, his technical advisor, was a colonel named Squeak Burnett, a man of limited education but incredible aviation prowess. He took the aircraft out, analyzed it, decided that it needed some fixes, a different engine, a little aerodynamics here, a little of this and that and the other. Here they come now from left to right. Listen to the sound as they sweep across the sky. Up again and over the top. When Burnett filed his report to the general, he said, sir, it was a multi-page report, and he said, these modifications will take an airplane, this aircraft, and make it handle like a California Mustang, which of course was a diminutive horse of tremendous skill and power. And by golly, that's what they got.
But it was the Merlin that gave you that extra.
Magical Merlin, the magical Merlin.
Now the Spitfire here, of course, MH434, well known at air shows throughout England and Europe, the flagship of the old Flying Machine Company and purchased by the late Ray Hanna.
You look back and you think it's only been 100 years.
So you'll see the black and white stripes on the P-51. They were applied on the 5th of June 1944 to all Allied aircraft as a means of recognition. Crowded skies, lots of aeroplanes. The stripes were immediately a recognition for the Allies that this is an aircraft on our side, and I must say that to see a P-51 on our side was something that was a war winner. This was the first aircraft that could fly from England to Berlin and back again on a tank of gas, 8 hours.
Tremendous range, tremendous strength. Good wind here, but very, very competent pilots. Really know their stuff. This is such a treat, folks. Such a wonder, lining it up.
Classic fighter approach, curved, straighten up at the last moment.
Yeah, a little side. Make sure that if the Mustang decides to stop suddenly, why he can slip right on by.
And you'll notice in the Spitfire, of course, it's powered by, or has at least armed with 20mm cannons, so you can see them at the front. The P-51 Mustang with 50 caliber machine guns buried inside the wings. Very appropriate to see a Spitfire here at Biggin Hill.
Now, ladies and gentlemen, as the aircraft taxi back, again, we will ask you, as we ask you all day, to acknowledge the pilot in any event, but give them the wave that acknowledges that you appreciated what they did here today. Give them a nice big wave, and they will be very, very happy indeed. Something else went pounding into the...
Look directly in front of you. for a display by the Royal Air Force Chinook.
That's incredible. Look at that.
Once again, you have to realise how big this helicopter is. In Royal Air Force service, it acts as a lorry, it acts as a coach, it acts as a crane.
Andy, do you know who's flying this aircraft today?
I do. Display pilot today is Flight Lieutenant Rich Simpson, and next to him, co-pilot Flight Lieutenant Rob Paul.
He's brilliant. They are brilliant. Look at that.
That manoeuvre is one of these Chinook signature manoeuvres, a 270-degree quick stop kind of handbrake turn for a helicopter. But don't take your eyes off that Chinook. Just watch very, very carefully. Watch now as the power comes on. How about that? The power, that helicopter working very hard indeed. But of course there's no escaping the laws of gravity, because whatever goes up, at some stage it has to come back down again. So don't take your eyes off. All the way up, and corkscrew all the way back down again. Now this is a somewhat unusual attitude for a helicopter, more like a fixed-wing approach to landing. It is something that we do in training, just in case we have a problem with one of the engines. You can almost land this helicopter conventionally.
Now, is he simulating an engine failure right now?
He is indeed.
So he's really coming in with power to only one of the two engines.
That's correct, Ron. But once again, just keep watching that helicopter. Normally, of course, the nose wheel would come down on the runway and the aircraft would gently roll off. But this is a display, so we're not going to do that. We're going to hold that nose in the air, speed bleeding right off.
Now he'll restore power, I assume.
Or he's going to do something a little bit more special than that.
Oh, really?
He's found reverse gear and is actually going to do a reverse takeoff.
How can he see where he's going?
Ah, well, he's very lucky. He has a crewman on board who's now looking out of the tail ramp, basically acting like wing mirrors for the pilot.
That's marvelous. Just marvelous. There's real skill and dexterity.
And being the showman that he is, Rich will wait till he gets right to crowd centre before lifting off. How about that, ladies and gentlemen?
He's taking off backwards. Do not try this at home, ladies and gentlemen.
For 1 second, of course, because this has been so aptly described, ladies and gentlemen, as an elephant doing ballet. It is truly, truly stunning.
And bows.
And a huge bow.
I'd say.
Now this is the roller coaster. Rich pulls up, very uncomfortable.
He was floating in that seat for a moment. I know that he was 0G.
And just to make sure, he's going to do it all over again.
When I refer to 0G, folks, that means that his feet will float off the pedals if he's not careful, and he'll actually float out of the seat if his belt isn't tight.
Kind of handbrake turn for helicopters. Keep watching now, as I'm expecting that manoeuvre to be repeated.
All right. My eyes are on it, and I'm sure everyone else is watching too. Whoa!
Now once again, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, it's time for some audience participation. You'll see the ramp has opened at the back. The crewman will magically appear on that ramp, and as we traverse sideways along the crowd line, he's looking at you, you're looking at him, he's waving at you, so wave back.
What a ham. What a pilot. What an aircraft. Reminds me of one of my favorite little slogans. Freedom is never free.
Well, of course, that manoeuvre you've just seen in a fixed-wing aircraft would be called a stall turn. In a helicopter, we called it a pedal turn. But then with a steep spiral down as well. But now as the Chinook comes directly at you, once again, ladies and gentlemen, it's time to show your appreciation. Flight Lieutenant Rich Simpson, co-pilot Flight Lieutenant Rob Paul, the Royal Air Force Chinook.
And not to be forgotten, Squadron Leader Andy Palsy, our commentator here, who knows these fellows and works with them closely and does a wonderful job of sharing with us what's happening. Thank you so much, Andy, for being up here today.
Thank you very much, Ron.
Unraveled the mysteries of these rotor head helicopters.
Well, it's a pleasure to be up here. And of course, you will see the Chinook helicopter, well, at least once more today.
Every now and again, ladies and gentlemen, on the air show circuit, a truly unique act appears, and I'm going to tell you this is it. I have been involved with the work up to this. We have a Pawney, and we have a glider, a Swift S1. The Pawney from RAF Halton, the Swift S1 being flown by Guy Westgate, who has been unlimited glider aerobatic champion for so many times. I've completely forgotten. I think it's about 8 times. He, I think, has got 2 world paragliding world records. This is an opportunity to get some photographs now. Take a look at this. This truly is awesome. Guy Westgate is flying there in the Swift. And Paul Moslin, who's a gliding instructor at RAF Halton, he's there all year round. He'll be flying. And there they are. Look at that wing rock. Look at that. The awesome. And here's the smoke now. The Pawney itself, which is basically an agricultural aircraft. It's used for towing gliders fairly ubiquitously, but this is the only one in Britain that actually has Papa Juliet, a smoke system. So you can throw all your basic towing, everything you've ever learned about towing gliders out the window, because this is completely unique, ladies and gentlemen. And in a minute, when they finish just presenting you with the glider, you can see Guy riding just on the top side of the smoke, so he's not running into it. The Swift as well is unique in that it's got a double smoke system. I have a feeling, I'm not quite sure, Guy's got the smoke on. That means something's going to happen. Now I wonder what is going to happen. He's got this wonderful red smoke. I think one of the... Oh my goodness me, he's rolled upside down, ladies and gentlemen. He's rolling on tow. Unbelievable. A full 360-degree roll on tow, not once but twice. Nowhere, and 3 times. Absolutely extraordinary. He's not going to do it a 4th. He is going to do it a 4th time. And a 5th time. He didn't tell me he was going to do that. That, ladies and gentlemen, I have tried this myself. I ended up basically wrapping the tow rope around the glider, which is very, very exciting. So I do know what this is like. Offset one side there again from the smoke line. So, and he's off tow, and he's done an amazing flick roll. Well, it's down here near the ground, ladies and gentlemen, it becomes really, really critical. This is where energy management is absolutely vital. Continuing with those maneuvers, remember, no engine here at all. Right down, kinetic energy. Burning height to speed. He's got him set himself up for that landing now because he's got no engine. It's got to be right the very, very first time. And there we are, ladies and gentlemen, coming in Guy Westgate and the Swift display team, a perfect example. Kinetic energy, potential energy, all the way down to the ground. What a superb display.
As I said, you can't do that in that glider. But he was a dear friend and now departed. He's killed in an air show in Sao Paulo, Brazil, but not flying a glider.
Well, quite extraordinary, really. Just a quick...
So straight from that maximum performance short field takeoff, display pilot, Flight Lieutenant Mk.IX just accelerating the aircraft away. We're all delighted to see this aircraft on the display circuit. The good people at Cranwell, especially number 45 Reserve Squadron, have worked very hard to bring this display out to you. This is only the second time this award-winning display has been seen in public. So now running in to start his display, Flight Lieutenant Mk.IX in the King Air. Now I'm sure you'll agree with me, that's an amazing angle that aircraft was held at. So of course the next thing to do is to go into a very steep descent.
And do a loop.
We wish, not quite that far, but when you saw from that knife edge, it would be easy enough to roll this aircraft. Maybe we'll do that next year.
I wish.
Well, this twin-engine turboprop only entered service with the Royal Air Force in 2004 and is used as a multi-engine advanced pilot trainer with number 45 Reserve Squadron. Part of 3 flight training school at Royal Air Force Cranwell. Pilots that fly this aircraft in with the Royal Air Force go on to our multi-engine fleet, perhaps the Hercules, some of our jet transports or our Nimrod maritime patrol aircraft, and there again, just watch. That's amazing agility of this aircraft. Leon's certainly working very hard, and I think we can all... Lieutenant Dave Davies just making his takeoff. Again, a beautiful colour scheme.
Interesting transition there, Andy. You see, it's almost like flying a gyrocopter.
Here's a classic view of an aircraft taking off from Biggin Hill, being held very low, just disappeared.
That is shifting.
Very much a kind of sports car of the air. It's fairly straightforward. There's nothing fancy about it. It's just a complete thoroughbred. A delight to fly. Very fast, very aerobatic. Of course, this is the mount of the Red Arrows. Also very aerobatic in the hands of Flight Lieutenant Dave Davies from number 208 Reserve Squadron, based at Royal Air Force Valley on Anglesey.
Excellent, 45, half roll, half Cuban on the 45 cross axis.
There again we see that beautiful colour scheme, the RF round all painted on the belly of the aircraft. We're very much in favour of that kind of colour scheme for this year, celebrating our remarkable 90th anniversary. Dave
hesitation roll. An 8-point hesitation roll. Nice one. Amazing stability. You'd think with a thin fuselage, once it was on knife edge, it would hard to slide, but no. Very, very fine.
And also with that 8-point hesitation, you saw the symmetry of the actual manoeuvre,
Are they going
important.
to become the L-39 for the future for the private owners? You know, there'll be so many around, and people are flying the L-39s now, like Jaques Botlin's team. There we are. Ooh, that's about a -3 G outside turn. And here he is again, even as we speak. Upside down, nothing on the clock with the maker's name. No, it's not true. He's got nothing on the clock there. That will.
Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. Once again, you can see that black, predominantly black colour scheme showing up so well against the different background.
And he will wave to you right out of this window right now. Come on, wave. That's it. There he is, folks. And what do we have going up in the sky here now, Ian?
B-25 Mitchell was very appropriate here.
And you know, in just a few minutes, we're going to have an F-86 Sabre. And the reason I happen to mention that now is because at that moment, you're going to have 3 North American products in the sky at one time.
Now, the B-25 Mitchell saw action in every theatre of World War II, used by the US Navy as a patrol and attack aircraft, and of course by the RAF as a tactical daylight bomber. And it was in that role that a number of New Zealanders flew the type, heading from here across the English Channel into Europe, taking railroads, buildings in France, and through into Germany as the Allies advanced.
A very unique B-25. It is made up in the colors of 18 Squadron, which was a squadron in the RAF, but these aircraft were flown by Dutchmen who had fled Dutch East India, which is now known as Ceylon. I think it's changed its name again now, but actually it was Dutch East India at the time. And there was a very unique situation here, and that was the fact that the pilots were hurried out of the country by the military. Some of the high command got their families out, but the pilots' families, their wives, their children were incarcerated by the Japanese. So while these men were fighting for freedom in the skies, they're also fighting for their lives. Very, very tough state. A lot of them passed on, of course, in captivity. This aircraft has the 2 C's marked on the side, if you look carefully. And the 2 C's represent... They represent the wife and the daughter of the pilot who flew this plane in combat during the war. He was flying for them. Peter Kuipers is at the controls today. Very accomplished job. Absolutely magnificent job. Big old beautiful beast. The Mitchell, by the way, was the aircraft that raided Tokyo. They flew it off the Hornet.
This particular aircraft built in 1944 and was found in very poor condition in Baton Rouge, Louisiana, operated by a number of civilians in different roles, including skydiving and tropical fisheries. I don't know what they did with the fish with the plane, but that was one of the roles. aircraft here as a bomber aircraft, but at the same time there were a number fitted with solid noses that held or housed 8 0.5-inch machine guns, 4 more and 2 pairs on either side of the forward fuselage as well.
This certainly has to be one of the most flexible aircraft you'll see, you know, the World War II era bombers. What's the old saying? There are old pilots and bold pilots, but there are no old bold pilots. There's a very special sound right there, folks.
As the Mitchell lands and the P-51 prepares for her display, I think it's appropriate to think about bomber pilots. Bomber pilots flying aircraft for many hours at a time across enemy territory. And for certainly the first part of World War II, the bombers would be escorted by fighters so far. The fighters would run out of gas, not literally, but they had to return back to England, and it was with a forlorn farewell, I'm sure, that the bomber crews saw their fighter escort disappear, because that meant the German Luftwaffe were going to come and find them. We see these beautiful aircraft flying, and we must remember that the young boys, we were talking before, 19, 20-year-old boys flying these aeroplanes, boys in the bombers called the fighters little friends, and I can certainly understand why they called them that. Their little friends helped them across to Germany. And what we have here is an interview with a pilot of a P-51 Mustang, a real little friend for those bombers.
Tell us now, Captain, if you will, about that Wednesday flight. I was just flying along over Germany after escorting bombers which had just blasted targets at Berlin, when I noticed a flying fort break away from its formation. The 2 left engines were dead and the props were feathered. Then I heard the bomber call me in. Little friend, I've got 2 engines out and I'm on fire. Can you see me, little friend? As I was coming down to them, I said, I'm crossing right over you. Let's go home. His answer was an answer like K. Kaiser's. Yes, do it. Even though he knew he was badly hit, he didn't seem worried. 7 other P-51s came down with me, so I pulled up alongside the big ship, lowered my flaps to slow down to his speed, and then noticed a big hole about 3 feet square on the bottom of the wing, where flames were burning inside and eating its skin away. I cut in and told him the aluminum was melting away on his wings and the flames were beginning to break through the top. I kept alongside and tried to suggest different stunts for putting out the fire. Cut back to the right or to the left. Dive, pick up speed as we have to blow out the flame, and so on, but nothing seemed to work. Finally he called, little friend, I'm afraid I'll have to bail out. Will you stand by and count the chutes as they go out?
It is the voice of the past, the voice of somebody that was there, the voice that we should remember. The pilots flying these aeroplanes from all different parts of the world, I guess, and experiencing horrors that they never thought they would ever see in their lives.
The same thing for the Spit pilots here. Every time that scramble bell rang, they'd be ill to their stomach as they ran to their airplanes, full of fear for what they were going to face, but knowing that they had a commitment, they had a job to keep England free, in spite of the plans of the great war planners, and it worked out magnificently to our advantage.
And this aircraft itself is a true war hero. Saw service during World War II and also saw service with the famous Tuskegee Airmen.
Tuskegee. RG.
We say different in New Zealand, don't we?
The Tuskegee Airmen were incredible. They were an all-black squadron or squadrons who, we were still very segregated in America at that time. And they were trained to fly combat and protect the bombers, and protect them they did. Interesting point, by the way, about the B-25, and that is that the B-25 never flew in Europe during the war.
Ah, okay.
It was pointed out to me by the B-25 pilot, Peter Kuiper. So they never flew. I mean, they flew around the world, all over the place. But the B-25, of course, they attacked Japan, you know, and then that little retribution raid didn't amount to much except for propaganda purposes, but did very well in that regard. Just magnificent watching this old bird fly. And we're going to switch gears in just a moment. We're going to go from the 51 to an aircraft that actually was flying simultaneously on active duty when the P-51 was flying on active duty, and that, of course, is the F-86 Sabre jet.
And of course you'll see on the P-51 the double canopy, which allowed the pilot just so much more vision as he was flying.
Oh, exactly. One of the great condemnations was was when you had no rear vision except with a All right. Andy is pointing out something very interesting over here, ladies and gentlemen. If you look over your right shoulder at what we would call about your 8 o'clock position,